Today, well, we got Batman, the Caped Crusader, the Dark Knight, running a super soldier gauntlet from Marvel. He'll be going up against a lot of the big name super soldiers, starting out with the newest Captain America, even though he's not technically a super soldier, then Black Widow, US Agent, Taskmaster, Winter Soldier, the OG Captain America, before finishing it off with the big man himself, Luke Cage. I know it's not a comprehensive list of all the super soldiers in Marvel, but still, seems like a fun idea. So, how does Batman do? And does he clear the list? Can he finish the gauntlet? Well, let's find out. Bruce Wayne was the son of wealthy philanthropist Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne, and seemed destined for a life among the elite of the crime-ridden streets of Gotham City. That is, until his parents were shot dead in an alleyway while walking home. Forever scarred and changed by the loss, Bruce used his family's wealth to travel the world and acquire the skills, training, and technology he needed to begin his one-man war on the crime of Gotham City. He became Batman, a caped vigilante who crusades against the scum and filth of his home city's underworld. After becoming a founding member of the Justice League, Batman quickly became known as one of the most feared individuals in the DC universe, holding his own against superpowered criminals, monsters, and even gods, all in order to protect the innocent from those who would do them harm. And I want to give Batman his flowers here. The guy has trained himself until he's reached peak human physical levels, then basically shattered all records and became above peak human. He's strong enough to bench press over 1,000 pounds, rip through metal, or even knock around things that easily weigh multiple tons. And Bruce has no problem using all that strength of his punches or kicks. He's regularly knocking down walls or kicking through metal, regularly knocking out metahumans and sending people flying dozens of feet with just one strike. Batman might not necessarily look it, and he is supposed to be just a normal human, but you can kind of say that essentially, whatever Captain America can do, Batman can pull off something similar. Sure, Steve might be ultimately a bit stronger, but Bruce is well within that super soldier range of strength. Same with durability. Batman is incredibly durable, especially with his incredible armor. Now, out of his armor, Batman has taken some pretty nasty beatings, even an attack or two from Wonder Woman, so he's definitely tough. And his bat suit only adds on to that even more. He's regularly taken attacks from all sorts of opponents, some of whom are seriously strong. I'm talking your Venom-amped Banes, your Deathstrokes, even some much heavier hitters like Professor Zoom, Aquaman, or even Superman. And those last two were either mind-controlled or just royally pissed off, so they weren't necessarily holding back all that much. Batman's armor is also completely bulletproof. It's allowed him to survive some pretty massive explosions. Batman has even survived falling from the moon and crash landing down on the Earth. He's incredibly tough. And lastly, feel like I should mention speed. Batman is incredibly fast and agile, far superior to even Olympic level athletes. Like at this point, normal people simply move in slow motion to him. He can move so fast, he's just simply a blur, and Batman has routinely been able to dodge bullets and gunfire, even if it's automatic machine gun fire or bullets fired at literally point-blank range. Batman can still dodge all of it. He might still call himself just a normal human, but I think it's pretty clear that he's moved a little bit past that by now. But Batman isn't just in peak physical condition. That's not the only thing he's got going for him. He's also arguably the world's best fighter. And if you don't want to put him at the tippy top, well, you can count on one hand the people who are better than him. He's trained to perfection and become a master in every form of combat that there is. He can react and fight without even thinking, and is trained to be able to predict an opponent's move to the point where he knows his opponent's next move before even they do. He's an expert in every single fighting style known to man. a lot of other alien fighting styles too, and so he can quickly and effortlessly switch between fighting styles on the fly or to perfectly counter and take down an opponent. He's been able to regularly fight against some of the best martial artists in the world, like Lady Shiva, Bronze Tiger, Owlman, even Karate Kid. And you know what? He oftentimes wins these fights, like he's regularly been tested by the best assassins and martial artists in the world. Ra's al Ghul and Lady Shiva are constantly trying to test Batman with the best of the best, and they usually pick the most inopportune times, like when Batman is off his game or recovering from grievous injuries. But Batman still tends to come out on top every single time. There's a reason why he's known as the best of the best. He also comes equipped with pretty much every weapon and gadget you could possibly imagine, outside of guns and stuff, of course. He's got batarangs, his signature weapon, and he's probably one of the world's best shots when it comes to throwing them. He's got some pretty serious explosives, some of which can even stagger and knock back Kryptonians. He's got electrical weapons powerful enough to send out tens of thousands of volts, sonic grenades, even knockout gas or tranks that can put down superhumans. Not to mention, Batman is a literal super genius. He's a brilliant tactician, a master planner and strategist. He's routinely able to take down bigger or more powerful threats simply because he outthinks them. There's a reason why, even though he's still just a human, Batman is one of the most respected heroes and feared men on the planet. It's because he's the Batman. So first up on the gauntlet here for Batman was the newest Captain America. And I don't think I have to go into it too much here. Batman clears and beats Sam. That's for sure. Sam was trained to fight by the OG Captain America, Steve Rogers, but he's nowhere near the fighter that Batman is. Bruce could outfight him any day of the week, do it with his hands tied behind his back. That's not taking anything away from Sam, just that's the skill difference between the two. On top of that, well, Sam isn't technically a super soldier. He just made the list because he's Captain America now. But that means that Batman actually holds the physical edge over Sam too. So Bruce is his physical superior and the better fighter, meaning that Sam has to rely on his tech to get any type of edge over Batman. Now, his wings are made out of vibranium, and he's got Cap's vibranium shield, so some nice tech and weapons to have. But just being a flying man with a shield isn't anything that Batman hasn't seen before. Nothing new here. Batman can definitely dodge Sam's shield throws, and while Sam can keep his distance by flying, as soon as this gets up close and personal, well, Batman is putting him down. He clears. Now, next up, Black Widow. Because little known fact, in the comics, Black Widow is actually a super soldier too, as fast, strong, and tough as any woman one day could be, just like Captain America. Problem for her is, even though that is true, just based on feats, she's Batman's equal at best. More realistically, well, Batman probably still holds a physical edge over her. He might be considered peak human, but just based on feats, well, he's clearly superhuman like the super soldiers on this list. Guy's a beast. Now, Black Widow is a really skilled fighter, and being a spy and assassin, well, she'll have no problem trying to stab or shoot Batman. And she can give Bruce a run for his money for a time in this fight. Captain America and Winter Soldier have even acknowledged just how dangerous Widow is. But honestly, Black Widow just isn't up there in the tip top of Marvel fighters. She doesn't hold a skill advantage over Batman, and if Bruce can take down Lady Shiva, well then Black Widow isn't anything new to him. The real issue is that Bruce seems to have a problem with girls in tight leather outfits, and this one's a redhead. But Batman moves on. Now we got US Agent John Walker, a true super soldier. He's near Captain America's equal. He can lift up to 10 tons, dodge bullets, with intense training from Taskmaster. Well, he's honed himself into being almost on par with Captain America himself. Of course, the difference here is that US Agent is way more brutal than Steve, which is kinda why he didn't last too long as Captain America. But in a fight here against Batman, well, it's not necessarily a good thing for Batman. Seriously, don't sleep on US Agent. He's got no problem throwing his strength around, regularly overpowering his foes. He's had fights with Captain America that lasted for 30 minutes before, fights that Steve didn't think he was even going to be able to win. But really, what's the difference between US Agent and Deathstroke? Outside the fact that Deathstroke is better in pretty much every way, except that US Agent might be slightly stronger, and Batman and Slade have had plenty of fights throughout the years. Batman has arguably never lost a fight against Deathstroke, and sometimes just defeated him with ease. And here's the thing, Batman's still constantly pulling his punches in these fights, even against someone like Deathstroke. And Slade said that if Bruce ever decided to finally go all out, well, he'd win undeniably. There would be no way for Deathstroke to beat him. So again, Batman is moving on. I don't think US Agent is taking him out. Now, here's where you can make an argument that Batman stops. If Taskmaster is taking the fight seriously, he's using his powers to their fullest, well, you can argue that he beats Batman. But I'm going to argue that Batman beats Taskmaster and moves on from here. It's definitely hard, though. Taskmaster's whole thing is having photographic reflexes. He's able to instantly replicate anything he sees, taking something that would take years of practice and study and mastering it in just seconds. And he's watched pretty much every single fighter in the Marvel Universe and completely mastered their style, with his list including the likes of Captain America, Black Panther, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Wolverine, and so many more. So he's basically an amalgamation of all the best fighters in Marvel with all their skill and ability in one person. From there, well, Taskmaster has fought with the best of the best. Taskmaster has plenty of experience fighting against superhumans. He's fought against Captain America, Spider-Man, Venom, even whole Avengers teams. And he always holds his own or even wins the fight because of the incredible powers of his own. Because for as good as Batman is, and don't get me wrong, he's one of the best and most skilled fighters that DC Comics has to offer, there's actually no such thing as being more skilled than Taskmaster, since by very nature of the character, he's going to learn your exact moves and then use them against you. And it's not just as simple as Taskmaster has a massive arsenal of different skill sets that he can draw upon. So like he could whip out Spider-Man's moves at random and then switch it up and throw in Daredevil's moves. Although yeah, he is sometimes written that way. But at his best, well, Taskmaster isn't just throwing random movesets at Batman here, but he's instantly analyzing and countering the moves used against him. So, very quickly in the fight, Taskmaster is going to be copying Batman's own skill and using that skill against him with the perfect counters, and he'll be able to predict and anticipate Batman's next moves on top of that. The problem with all of this is that while Taskmaster can definitely beat Batman, Taskmaster also routinely beats himself. Like, for as good as he is, he seems to relish fighting against a new opponent, studying them and copying their skills. So it's totally possible that he's in no real rush to put Batman down. And that's always seriously a bad idea when you're fighting against someone as dangerous as Batman. It's also totally possible that Taskmaster even starts talking about his power and that he can copy all of Bruce's moves, which again is not a good idea when you're fighting against someone like Batman. Plus, that's not even mentioning that Batman is crazy smart and has fought against people like Taskmaster before. He can simply outthink Taskmaster's powers and fight him in a way that he can't predict or overcome. It's kind of the same way that Deadpool can fight and beat Taskmaster, because Deadpool doesn't think while he fights, and so Taskmaster can't analyze and overcome it. Well, it's the same idea, just while Deadpool isn't thinking while he fights, Batman is simply thinking on a way, way higher level than Taskmaster, and can still beat him. So yeah, Batman moves on. Here's another one where you can argue that Batman stops. You can argue that Winter Soldier beats him. Because for starters, well, being a super soldier, it's pretty obvious that Winter Soldier holds a sizable stat advantage over Batman. Bucky is stronger, faster, and tougher than Bruce. No real question about it. Now, it's closer than you would think, but between the super soldier formula, technically the Infinity formula in comics, and Winter Soldier's bionic arm, he holds an advantage over Batman. Winter Soldier is fairly comparable to Captain America, and that gives him the slight edge. Batman is a better and more skilled fighter than Winter Soldier, but Bucky actually has the experience edge here. He's been kicking butt longer than Batman has even been alive, and has proven his skill with fighting against some of the best fighters in Marvel. Winter Soldier also has some serious tech and weapons, guns that can hurt gods or Hulks, and his bionic arm isn't just super strong and super tough, but carries a very powerful EMP blast that can disable a lot of Batman's more high-tech weapons. But I think Batman's skill gap is just a bit too much here. He's a better fighter than Bucky, and just being able to regularly fight against and beat people like Deathstroke and Red Hood, well, that to me shows that Batman can beat Winter Soldier and move on. Okay, this one is probably the most iconic one, and where a lot of people will think Batman stops. Captain America, the original super soldier. And yeah, you can definitely argue that Batman stops here, but I've always seen this fight as straight up 50-50, and the purest 50-50 fight out there in comics. So with that logic, well, there is a 50% chance that Batman moves on. Captain America is one of the greatest fighters in all of comics. He holds the physical edge over Batman by nature of being a super soldier, and his shield is the best weapon in the fight. It's the perfect offensive and defensive weapon, and Steve is the master when it comes to using it. Now, you can argue that Batman has way more skill and versatility when it comes to different fighting styles he can pull upon. He's got way more versatile tech and some weapons that Cap can't see coming. He's actually nearly on par with Steve when it comes to physicality. Like I said, this is pretty much straight up 50-50. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to allow Batman to move on just to keep the video going. But unfortunately for Batman, well, I think he hard stops at Luke Cage. A super soldier created through prison experiments, well, Luke Cage is seriously powerful. Like, sure, Batman is able to fight against Bane. He's able to fight against Killer Croc. He's no stranger to fighting against strong opponents. But Cage is strong, like stronger than Spider-Man strong. and strong enough to easily overpower some of Spider-Man's villains like Venom or Green Goblin, even one-shotting Rhino, a guy who's so strong that Spider-Man is actually scared when he has to fight him. One punch from Luke Cage is potentially going to knock Batman out. It might just take one hit. And Luke Cage is so tough and durable that pretty much nothing is going to hurt him. None of Batman's normal weapons are going to do anything. He's shrugged off electricity, he can take explosions point blank, freeze blast don't do anything, acid doesn't do anything, you can't break his skin so you can't tranquilize him. Really, he's so tough. And while yeah, one time Black Panther managed to take him down with nerve strikes, there have been many other instances of Luke just casually brushing off nerve attacks, not even being affected. You can kind of count that as just a one-off. Batman would be able to take down Luke Cage with prep time. But just in a random encounter, Luke is stronger and tougher than all of Batman's rogues. He would have no problem knocking Batman out, and it'd be nigh impossible for Batman to reliably hurt him. Batman almost cleared the gauntlet, but I think he definitely stops at Luke Cage. But what do y'all think?